When I was a kid, I remember there was this film called Anna Ballerina, and I used to watch it at home and I'd just like dance around the living room. I was always one of those weird kids that would kind of like sing a lot, and I was always very creative. So for me, it just felt like a natural expression.
Well, I think there's something about dance about coming together, because with addiction it isolates you. So there's something about coming together and connecting as a group. And I think once we start to move, it brings you into that moment, into that present second.
My mother was an alcoholic addict. One time I tried to wake her up because I had to go to school, and my mum's eyes were rolled back in her head. She was in bed and I thought she was dead. I was trying to wake her up and she just wouldn't move or respond or anything. But I mean, that was like normal for me, because I never knew what was going to happen from one minute to the next. And when you're a kid, I think you need stability. I didn't know at the time, but they started trying to take me into care, so they started legal proceedings. And then eventually one day they just put all my stuff in a car and drove me to Scotland and just left me in a boarding school and said, "You're going to boarding school." And like every day I was bullied for, you know, being gay or like this colour of my skin. So I'd had such a horrific time at home, and I was sent to this place where I was supposed to be kind of safe.
I'm always not amazed, but I'm always kind of blown away by some of the things that people share and where the inspiration, some of the inspiration comes from, because it's sometimes in the most darkest places, or sometimes the most, like the place where you wouldn't think it'd be there, and there it is, there's a gem.
From the age of 9 to 12, I was sexually abused by a teacher at the school. I told them what had been going on, and basically they said that because of what was happening at home, I was like a problem child. So they called me a problem child, and that was their way of dealing with it. And they actually expelled me and said that you know, they didn't want to have me in their school. So then I had to go and live with an uncle and aunt. My aunt came to pick me up on that last day of school, and I was just crying because I was so upset, and she believed them, and that killed me. I didn't feel like I'd ever had an adult in my life that was there for me. I started drinking, I think, from about the age of 15. I was smoking weed by 17. By 18, I was taking club drugs. I went through a whole range from ecstasy to speed, ketamine, cocaine, and then by my mid to late 20s, I became an intravenous crystal meth user. I obviously developed this craving where I couldn't stop, and you know, it wasn't about the drugs. It was only later I realised it was about a much deeper symptom. Like there were things that I was struggling with that I was using drugs and alcohol to mask.
Heavily drinking, heavily into drugs for many, I'd say about 15, 20 years. And then it just got to a point, I think my mum would come round to see me and she was crying, and I was like, I'm fine, everything's fine. And I looked at state, and I had big sores on my face and my nose, and they said, look, we think you should go to treatment. And I was like, no, I'll be all right. And I was like, no, you know what? I think I'm dying. You know, I'm losing the will here. I can't continue. I kind of had a moment where it's like I can't carry on just doing what I'm doing, because I'm dying. You know. So I said, yeah, I'll go. I'll do it. I'll go.
I had a relapse. I was in London, and it was the last time I used drugs. It's just seeing the faces of my family, and my grandma was sat on my bed at home, and I remember she just turned to me and said, "When are you going to stop living this life of vice?" I just realised how selfish I'd been, and it wasn't worth it anymore. At one point, I nearly died. I nearly had my legs amputated. They had to chop all my legs up and stuff, and I had organ failure, so I was in intensive care. But here I am, that was summer of 2013, and we're in, spring 2017. And I've just, a few weeks ago, I was dancing on stage at the Royal Opera House, so you figure it out. I don't know, it sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it?
I got involved through rehab treatment. Fallen Angels used to come in and they'd take us for like sort of 2 hours a week.
I started attending some workshops that Paul was doing once a week. I did some of the groups, but I wasn't regular because I was still kind of struggling with my recovery. And then last year, after kind of like coming every now and then, I started really focusing on it, and my recovery, became a lot stronger.
I got into dance because I loved it, but now I love watching other people go through that experience, like people that come with us on this journey. They come into the studio for the first time and they're broken, they can't look people in the eye, and they've got huge amounts of fear and kind of self-obsession. And then within a few weeks you start working with them, they start to, their eyes start to sparkle a little bit, and then you see them performing on stage, and then, then the audience reaction, and then there's a real amazing, we're like a tight family, and everybody feels valued, everybody's got a voice, and there's a real sense of trust in the room.
It's really pushed me, it's really kind of challenged me, because dance, obviously I'm not a natural dancer, I'm not a natural kind of performer. The first time we did the big show, they were like, oh, you're gonna dance in the Lowry, and it was like, what? Seriously? And they were like, yeah, in front of, 200 people or whatever, and we were like, but the challenge, that kept challenging me, kept kind of like pushing me, and then that enabled me to kind of find a little bit of confidence in myself.
I was at home with my mum in London. I just got this text from Paul, and he's like, I want you to be in the show. And I just thought, what? And so I ended up working with Nicolette, PJ, who plays the lead, Phil, who plays the clown, and Julia, who's a lecturer at Edge Hill. And so there was me, this complete novice, kind of joining them.
The whole thing about Fallen Angels is taking dance theatre to people that wouldn't have had the opportunity, but not only that, is like giving them a personal connection with the material as well.
When I saw Paul earlier, he had a review of our performance in the Dancing Times, and the guy that reviewed us mentioned me at the end, and he says that I appeared Christ-like on stage, and that even though I'd been dancing for 6 months, I had, all the presence of a professional dancer. So that's how my life has changed. I've gone from having nothing to having all of these amazing opportunities, things that I never thought that I'd ever do, especially with my legs and stuff, but somehow, I don't know, something out there's had a different plan for me,
Fallen Angels, I don't know, it's like a family, I'm getting married next year, and Paul's like my best man, do you know what I mean? Because they've really been there for me, and I can always ring, you know, I can always kind of harass them, and it's also all the knowledge I've learned from them I can pass on to others as well, and you know, that's what recovery's about. It's about passing it on and kind of moving on, you know. Yeah.
For someone like me to come in and to have an amazing opportunity like that, it's something that I don't take for granted, and it will be something that I cherish for the rest of my life, and I'll always be grateful to Paul for that amazing opportunity.